Don't work too small and don't work too thin to begin with. And don't put the bowl on a stem and a foot. The problem being is that if the piece is too small, the pressures and forces being applied are amplified, and it's very easy for the form to get pushed off center. Also, if the form is thin, the walls don't retain the heat for very long and it freezes up quickly, making the bowl frustrating to shape. Think about doing a double dip or a gather and then one on top of that. Also think about keeping some weight on the bottom of the bowl to begin with. This will help reduce the movement on the base of the bowl. Eventually you'll be able to blow it out as thin as you'd like, but think a little thickness to start. I broke down the bowl into several steps, and then you'll be able to watch the bowl in real time. Here I took a double dip. I'll make a quick pass initially and I'll drop the block to cool the surface. Accelerate the turn whenever you touch the glass. This will help you create a uniform shape. Think about lifting up and rotate your wrist outward to compress the moil, and it will also pull more glass off the pipe. If the tip is misshaped, slide the block softly into the pipe, compressing the tip of the glass in order to straighten it. When I cap the pipe, I look for the bubble to expand, and as this happens, I drop the head of the pipe. This keeps thickness on the bottom of the bubble. If you get thick shoulders, this is the move for you. After the heat, hang down to elongate the form. Even though we're making a squatted form, it's important to stretch it. How hot I get it, how much I stretch it, and how quickly I blow it up determines everything about the shoulder thickness. I let the glass fall in my hand. Note the angle of my paper, and notice that I'm not touching the top portion of the glass. My middle finger, ring finger, and thumb form a plane on the bottom of the glass, and I hold in this position. It's very important not to lift up or push back into the pipe, and you must go around it a few times before you start to blow, so the glass has time to compress and thicken. This is position number 1. If the glass starts to go off center, or if there's any irregularities in the bubble, I'll switch over to position number 2. My ring finger and middle finger are pressing softly on the top half of the bubble, and my thumb is extended towards the tip of the bubble. I rotate my hand slightly counterclockwise to apply torque to the bubble, and it will straighten. Once the bubble is straight, I'll think about blowing up a nice ball shape, and I'll use the back of my jacks to further cool the base. Note that I'm holding my jacks at a slight angle to the bottom. This helps maintain a straight bubble. I'll start my neckline and angle out slightly. This cools the top half of the bubble so that it doesn't collapse when I hold it up next. Notice I also don't neck the bowl all the way in. This also provides a lot of stability when I'm squatting the bowl. I'll start off turning in the direction which is most comfortable for me. Since I'm right-handed, I'll turn clockwise to start. I'll change directions partway through, and when I'm ready to come out of the glory hole, I'll switch directions again, turning clockwise. I'll raise the pipe up at a slight angle, cap the pipe, and continue turning in the same direction. This helps keep the glass straight. It's not how steep of an angle at which you hold the pipe at, but rather how evenly the bubble is heated and how well you turn the pipe, which then determines how evenly the glass squats back. Partway through the process, I might uncap and then recap the pipe quickly to let more air out to further squat the form. Now let's finish defining the neck. Angle out a little on the neck, then I'll blow slightly and check to make sure the bottom has a good curvature to it. Notice on this bowl I didn't put a foot in the bowl. I encourage you not to do this at first. It's much more important to focus on the angles and pressures being applied with the tools. If you do put a foot in the bowl to start, most likely it'll shift during the opening of the bowl and make things more difficult to control. That being said, I'll explain setting a foot in the bowl after the shape is made later on in this video. I can never hit center, so I use a piece of cane to scratch the bottom of the bowl to mark the center. I'll then apply the punny and center it. Add a drop of water to the neck, lift it off the rail, and then tap down on the same side that I placed the water on. There are several ways in which to center a bowl depending on the size and shape of it. First, catch the lip of the bowl and then make the back side perpendicular to the ground. This allows you to see the high point on the shoulder. When that point comes to the top, squeeze the tweezers together and rotate your wrist counterclockwise, almost as if you're opening up a bottle cap. These steps can be repeated until the bowl is straight. I use this next method if the bowl is small or I don't want to grab the inside of the lip. When the high point is up, I use a tweezer blade which is closest to the lip to drag the bowl slightly back towards the punny while pushing down with the blade which is closer to the punty. Right after I straighten the bowl, the first thing I think about is building up heat as fast as I can on the back side of the bowl. In order to do this, when I'm heating up, the punny is inside the glory hole door. It's imperative that you heat deep because the back side of the bowl has to build up heat in order for the bowl to become lower. The first heat is a little bit different in that the lip is a bit thicker, so I do give it a little extra heat. As I'm heating the front of the bowl, I'm slowing down the turn looking for movement. I'm waiting for the punny to set up a bit, as well as looking for an indication of the temperature of the lip. I look at the shoulder and I look at the lip. I draw an imaginary line between the 2 points, and that determines the angle at which I hold my jack blades. As I begin to open in the bowl, I apply sideways force to prevent torque on the punty. Because of the angle at which I'm holding the jacks and because there's only 2 points of contact, the bowl is lifting up and out. To compensate for the outward force, Lisa is stabilizing the bowl by paddling the lip as I am opening it sideways. I'll heat it deep with the punny all the way in the glory hole in preparation for the Sophie. I'll puff it up a little bit and push in slightly as I blow. This makes the shoulder come out. Then I'll push the shoulder back using outside work, rolling down towards the lip. Again, I heat deep. I usually switch directions twice as I do my heats. Maintaining the same direction as I come out of the hole, which will reduce the piece from going off center. I apply sideways force. Lisa paddles lightly, preventing the bowl from torquing and lifting out, and I open just enough for the wood jacks to fit in. Heat deep. The punny is still inside the glory hole doors for the duration of the heat. Note the angle at which I hold the jacks. 4 points of contact, 2 points behind the bump and 2 points on the lip. The longer I stay in this position where my tips are below the bump, the lower the form gets. Use sideways force. The right hand is a very light touch. It's all about the left and the turning. I increase the speed of my rotation when I touch the piece because the faster I turn, the more surface contact the tool makes, the faster it shapes, the less I have to touch it, the hotter the glass stays. Yes, the punny stays inside the glory hole for the duration of the heat. At this point I can't open the jacks anymore. When I pick up the jacks, I don't squeeze them together, and I maintain my same angle. I apply an upwards, very light force, utilizing 4 points of contact. Don't push back towards the punny. The force is directly upward and distributed equally on all 4 points. If the backside does not move at this point, you must heat a couple of more times to build up more heat in the backside of the bowl. At this point, I assess that the lip is opening too quickly, so I underheat the bowl on this heat, and this gives me a colder surface to push on and the glass sets up quickly. I apply the jacks to the shoulder and the lip, increase the speed of my rotation, and Lisa is right there shielding my hand and is also ready to paddle the lip. Take note at the position of my hand in relation to the piece. I get as close as I can to have more control and leverage. I continue to work the backside of the bowl, lowering the form by lifting upward very softly, maintaining my angle as I do this. When I transition to the front side of the bowl, I don't heat as deep, and the punny is just outside of the door. At this point I'm using very soft upward pressure, and as the curvature starts to form, the jacks start to level out as they move very slowly towards the lip of the bowl. Use 4 points of contact. If you would like to put a base on the bowl, heat deep. Build up heat with 3 to 4 deep, short flashes. Start with the tips of the wood jacks on either side of the punny at roughly a 45-degree angle. As I push down and back, Lisa paddles the base and shields my hand. Following the final heat, the punny is taken off using the same method used in taking off the tumbler. I stop and let the piece slump, reach for my water, and flip the piece 180 degrees. Plant my thumb on the punty and work the water all the way up to the line where the punty meets the bottom of the bowl. I grab the wood paddle, lift the punty off the rail, and tap on the same side that I placed the water, my thumb being the indicator of where the water was placed. Four points of contact. Here's a side view of the bowl. Use 4 points of contact. Position the tips below the widest point of the bowl or shoulder of the bowl. The pressure is equal on all 4 points, and the direction of the pressure is directly upward and not back towards the punty. The longer you stay with the tips positioned below the shoulders of the bowl, the lower the form becomes. Once you decided that the bowl is low enough, position the tips right above the shoulder of the bowl, but not directly in the shoulder. Continue holding the jacks at a slight downward angle so the lip doesn't flare and lift directly upward. As the lip is opening, move the jacks out very slowly towards the lip of the bowl, finishing parallel to the floor. If the bowl needs it, do outside work rolling down towards the lip. Finally, remember that if you're doing outside work and your jacks are not parallel to the floor when you're touching the lip will have a flare to it. The same is true if you are doing inside work and your jacks are not parallel to the floor when touching the lip. Your lip will be flared out. Sometimes if you don't control the turning speed of the pipe or don't pay attention to the angle of your jacks, the lip becomes flared. Since adjusting the turning speed is very important for this move, I've inserted a small clip demonstrating the turning technique during the heat right before the fix. Turn very slowly in the glory hole until the lip just begins to move. As you make your way back to the bench, rotate your wrist very slowly, but don't turn the punny in your hand as you come back to the bench. Center the bowl and then keep your palm flat because you need to generate speed for this move. Crawling or walking the pipe or fingertip turning is just too slow for this move. I'll start off with a very light touch of the flared portion of the bowl. Lisa shields my hand as I try to get my hand as close as possible to the bowl using the thicker portions of the jacks. This gives me more leverage on the piece. I'll increase the rate of my turn very quickly as the piece is cooling down. I'll roll up to the lip and end it with my jacks parallel to the floor. Then I'll look for bumps that need to be pushed in and roll across them again, finishing up at the lip. This move is all about controlling jack pressure, adjusting the rate of your turn, and watching the angle of your jacks. This is why I like bowls so much, because there's a lot going on. Take note that Lisa comes off the lip when my jacks are not touching it. If the paddle's left on, it's very possible that it might go off center. Here's fixing the lip in real time. I use the setup demonstrated in this tutorial for most all of the production work that we do. I found that it greatly reduces the learning curve for students as opposed to using the marver. Not to say that I don't use the marver. I utilize the marver depending on what I'm making and the scale of the piece. I just think that this particular setup is a good place to begin. As Rand always said, may the sideways force be with you. It reduces the torque on the punny, which helps keep things on center. Does it help? Yes. Is it essential? No. But it's just a reminder to pay attention to the multiple forces being applied to the bowl at the same time. Four points of contact. This is very important as it reduces the torque and stabilizes the bowl by counteracting forces being applied if only using 2 points of contact. You can also use 4 points on thinware too, the tips riding on the cold area of the piece and the other 2 points opening up the lip. The tip contact on the cold area provides stability, and you can use this cold area as a template to finalize the form. Finally, you can also make a tool like this one designed by Niko Dmitrievich and forget about everything we talked about in this tutorial.